Hello my friends, Paul here in the RoJoBe Music Workshop, and welcome to part 6 of the handmade electric bass guitar build project. Okay, so in the previous episode, just trying to remind myself, I've shown how I'd got the shaping on the body. So this for basically the armrest on the front, and this for the for the want of a better word, the belly rest on the back, and they come out really nice. Really happy with those. And I've done a couple of other things since then off camera. So one thing I have done is just put my glasses on, using my router. I've beveled all of the edges over on the back, all the way around the back, including around here, and also all the way around the front. So all of the edges are beveled over. Used my router to do that. Went pretty well. And then because when you do that, this doesn't always happen, but it certainly has done a few times I've done it, is you know, it rounds over the edge there, but you get a little ridge just there. Sometimes you know, on the top as well, but this time it didn't. But you know, because of the shape of the router bit, you know, it does sort of round off this edge, but it leaves a lip here, and obviously both sides. So once I'd done all of the beveling with the router, I then went around all the way around the edge, all the way around with my oscillating spindle sander to remove that ridge both sides. So basically, you know, it rounds off each side, and then you've got a ridge here and a ridge here. So this middle part is all, you know, kind of raised as opposed to the edges. So I had to run it around my oscillating spindle sander all the way around to take that off. I had to be pretty careful around here, not to go too close to this edge, because you know, there wasn't much real estate there, and the top edge is not so bad. But I also had to, you know, round off these bits, which I did partly on my spindle sander, partly by hand, and then the whole thing has had like 3 hours of hand sanding. Actually, I went over the whole of the back and the top with my electric palm sander to you know, to sort of save time with that. But for all of these contours and the edges, I had to sand that by hand with various grades or grits, sorry, of sandpaper, right there up to 2000. So the whole thing now is really smooth, nice and smooth. And as I said, it's like 2 or 3 hours of hand sanding alone. So it's right now it's 4:15. I've been here probably about 4 hours. I got here a little after 12, and actually I did the routing yesterday. So all of the rest of the work has taken me about 4 hours. So that's you know, going around all of the edge with the oscillating spindle sander and some of these corners, and then finishing off all the sanding by hand. It's been about 4 hours I've spent doing this, maybe 3.5, but you know, quite a long time anyway. It's very time consuming. I don't really like sanding, it's kind of boring, but it absolutely has to be done, and the end result is always really nice. I'm really happy with this. But some of you who have seen, or any of those of you who have seen my electric guitar project, did it exactly the same as this. And I discovered once I put the paint on that all of the wood was, you know, there was a few sort of divots and pits and everything. And I decided that with this one, I'm going to go over the whole thing, all the way around, top, back, all of the edges with filler first. Now again, that is quite time consuming, and I may need to do it 2 or 3 times if I miss any bits, but that's all got to be done prior to painting. So without further ado, I'm going to crack on with that right now. it's, you know, it does take a little while. There's quite a bit to do, so let's just crack on. So I've got my filler here, pot of filler, and I've got two spatulas, for the want of a better word, spreaders, whatever you want to call them. So I've got this small one, which I'm going to be using to go sort of inside these curvy bits, and I've got this much bigger one which will do all of the flats basically. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way around the sides first, and then do top and back. A couple of other things I haven't mentioned actually. So I've got the neck pocket masked off, and I've got all of the screw holes for all of the hardware that's going to be going on the top. So there's 25 holes there altogether, screw holes. So there's 11 for the pickguard, there's 4 each for the 2 humbuckers, there's 2 for the control plate here, and there's another 4 at the bottom for the bridge. So yeah, 25 holes altogether. And so that's what I should have mentioned actually. I've decided I'm going to cover the whole thing in filler before I cut out the all of the, you know, the cavities. So yeah, in the previous episode I had said that next I was going to start to cut out all the cavities, but I've decided to cover the thing with filler first before I do the cavities, because if you think about it, I'm going to have a big long cavity here, I'm going to have a big cavity here and a big cavity here, and to do the filler with those cavities, it's just going to be a bit more difficult, because it's going to go inside those cavities, and it's, you know, the spatula is going to catch on them and just make it a bit more difficult. Whereas with a completely flat surface, it's much easier to do it now. Get all that sanded and check for any, you know, any further low spots. And like I said, probably have to do the filling maybe 2, possibly 3 times, just to make sure I get every little bit. And I may also put a coat of filler, grey filler, sorry, not filler, primer, grey primer over the whole thing. And if there are still any bits that I've missed, that will show it up even better. And you know, I'll just give the whole thing a light sanding, possibly a wet sand, just to roughen it up, and then go over with the filler again. So the filler stage, you know, like the sanding, it can take time, it can take several applications. So let's just crack on. So I'm going to start with the hardest bits first, which is these bits. And like I said, I'm going to use this small spatula to get in there. No idea how this is going to go. It's going to be messy, I know that. I wonder if, yeah, I'm going to put some paper down on my bench first, paper towels, just to minimise the mess a little bit. Also to protect the guitar body from all the crap on my bench. So let's get a couple of lines of that. First of all. Right. Okay, so here we go. Let me just turn that camera around a bit. Right, so like I said, I'm going to start with the more difficult parts first. Hopefully that will go okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do all the way around the edge, or the sides, and do the top, but then I'll have to wait for it to dry so that I can flip it over to do the back. Probably should do the back first, just in case there's any problems, but it'll be fine. Yeah, it'll be fine. Okay, so let's start with the sides first. Can you see what I'm doing there? I think you can. Right, yeah, this is obviously the most tricky part, which is why I'm doing it first. So I want to try and spread it as thin as possible. So I don't want to have to do, you know, thousands of hours of sanding again. Got to make sure I fill in all of any divots or gaps or cracks or anything, but as thin as possible. Let's try and get up to that top edge there. Need a bit more this side. Yeah, pretty tricky doing this actually. Let's just go sideways like that. Okay. All around there. Messy. I'm going to get some tissue as well to help me clean up mess as I go. Not too much on that back just yet. Okay, so that side, this side's a little bit easier, that's why I did that side first, because it's the more tricky. Yeah, I'm getting in a mess already. Bound to happen. Trying to do this in a way that you can see what I'm doing as well. I'm trying not to make too much mess. Try and get right up to that top part. Top of the wing, if you like. I don't know. Right. So now I'll go round the top edge of these. I'm going to call them wings. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's the word I'm using. Oops, messy. Yeah, this is not one of my strong points, I've got to be honest. People who do this kind of thing for a living, they're probably screaming at their screen right now saying, no, that's wrong. Yeah, well. I know that one of the key things is to keep your spatula fairly clear. But yeah, doing these, curved bits is always going to be tricky. Okay, it is what it is. Right. Okay, let's go right the way down the sides now. Yeah, you see I've got a line right in the middle of there, that's not what you want. That's better. Ish. Way too thick around there really, but provided I don't do it all like that, I should be okay. you can't see what I'm doing, can you? I'm going to have to do it this way because it'd be impossible for me the other way around. Right, so I've got a toothpick here somewhere, can't find it, so I'll get another one. So I'm just going to use a toothpick to dig into the screw holes as I go, so that they're not permanently filled with filler. There's one here for the strap button at the bottom there. Right, I've got to try and get down the other side now. Actually, let's just do that bit there at the top. Right, so I've basically got to hold it now so that it's not, you know, resting on bits that I've already done. A bit more tricky than I was imagining this, but there you go. Right, so there's another hole there for where the the centre of the jack will be, just there. Oh, I'm making such a mess. Right, need to do that bit there as well. I'm going to have to rest it down there carefully. I really want this as thin as possible to minimise the sanding I'll have to do. Okay, so I'm going to lie it down now, do the top. Let's just clean up the edge a bit first before I start that. Oh, what a mess. Right, so I'm going to switch to the bigger spatula now to do the whole of the top. Actually, I'll start with the wings using this small one. Holes. Okay, so I'm going to splurge a load of it on here. And as I said, I use this big spatula to spread that out. Oh, that's much nicer. And I put way too much on there, way too much. And yes, as I said, I know my technique for this is absolutely terrible. try and smooth those edges out as well. Just bending this, giving it a bit of a curve, which isn't working at all. So to the tissue we go. What a mess. It's probably not as bad as it looks. It's actually starting to dry already, that's part of the problem. It is what it is. I'm sure I'm giving myself a ton more work there than I need to, but there you go. Where's the other one of these? How are we doing for time? Oh my god. Right, I'm going to leave that for now, put that to one side. Right, let's clean these spatulas up best I can. Right, I'm going to deal with that all more later, because there's one more job I need to do. Actually, yes, I'm going to do that. Right, so very quickly, the pickguard is now finished. Well, as far as shaping and sanding and everything. I've also got the aluminium foil insulation tape on the back. That's all done. So what I've got to do now is paint it. Now, bear in mind this is 2mm thick, and however you paint thin wood like this, whether it's spray or hand brush paint or whatever, it is going to warp all over the place. When you paint it, or moreover when the paint starts to dry. So what I'm going to do to try to eliminate that as much as possible is I'm going to screw it to this piece of board, this 40mm thick piece of board. So I'm actually going to screw it to this board and then do the painting. And this again has already been sanded to within an inch of its life, so it's now ready for painting. So I've got the insulation on the back, and I'm going to screw it to this board using all of my screw holes, and then do the painting from there. So that's the next stage, which I'm going to do off camera, and also finish the filling on the back of the body, and then sanding, more sanding, etc, etc, etc. So in part 7 we will be moving on. In the meantime, look after yourselves, look after each other. We will see you soon. Peace out.